Suicide's only crossed my mind once. Suicide is, my opinion, is the coward's way out. So what brings a man that doesn't believe in cowardice to take that way out? He's got to be really messed up. 22, 23 kids a day killing themselves. I mean, just look at the sheer numbers of people that went and look at the sheer numbers of suicides we're having. You know, I remember having a suicide epidemic in Hawaii. Nobody could figure it out. All these kids were jumping off the lanais. They couldn't figure out why these kids were so depressed in Hawaii. Now, this is in the late 80s, early 90s. They used to have an officer. We were assigned to run down to the battalions, and all the infantry battalions, there were 3 back then, 3 infantry brigades, and the 3 infantry brigades, and the officers had to be walking the floors to make sure the kids wouldn't jump off the lanais and kill themselves. Damnedest thing I ever heard of. They put barbed wire up to keep the kids from jumping off. The case de resistance was the soldier waited for the chief of staff of the division to come home from church with his wife and swan dived in front of the chief of staff of the division. The reason I bring that up is there's something wrong here, right? I mean, the mathematics of this says there's something wrong. We got to do something. Right now, today, we're at that point again. There's something wrong. It isn't having people hold other people's hands. It's helping people get the education. It's helping people get the resources they need to be able to survive under the mental circumstances and the stress and strain that they come back with. The divorce rate's the highest in our history. Why? Why are officers divorcing their wives at such a high rate? It used to be just an NCO thing. Now the officers are higher than the enlisted. Is it stress for the family? Oh, how could it possibly be? We have family support groups, right? Everybody's fine. The reason is that once the party's over, once everybody's patted on the back, given their decal, given their sticker, and everybody gets their happy-go-lucky medal, whatever that might be, depending on what rank they are, everybody gets sent home. Everything's fine for 3 weeks, and guess what? Now we get to face reality. Mom no longer recognizes Dad. Dad doesn't understand these unruly kids that can't seem to do a PCI for hell because they don't follow instructions. They don't follow instructions because Dad ain't been around a long time, and who the heck's this guy yelling at me? And Mom's running the whole show by herself and really doesn't need an outsider helping out. Next thing you know, they're getting a divorce. I know because it happened to me. My second wife, she said, the longest you've been at home without leaving for the first 4 years of our marriage is 3 months. It's hard. It's hard to stay married to anybody, have a useful relationship when you're never home. Well, me, I tell you what, it was very easy getting over the crisis for me because I had somebody else in my life that I knew committed suicide. And then I realized it didn't do any good for anybody. It didn't do good for him. It didn't do good for his family. And who he really ended up hurting was the people he loved most. And it was very, perfect telling. And then I also had another couple friends die in combat. And because they passed on, it also sent me another message to say, what the hell are you doing? You should be there instead of here doing your due.